Legends and super legends.
Hello.
Welcome to Veloharmony. We're rolling out today. We're going to Rome's Prairie and Shiro, Texas. We're going to get to Shiro today. Look at this day. It was raining this morning. Look at that sun.
Beautiful day.
Beautiful day. Look at the birds. It was raining this morning. We're starting a little later than we normally do, but that was great because it worked out. It's dry here. It's a little damp. Barely see that, but so we took off the mud guards. We had the mud guards on our bike because it rained at our house. But once we got up north, look at this. Yeah. Lovely. Lovely. It's gonna be a beautiful day.
On this route, we went through northwest Montgomery County to discover a new area. We wanted to try a new road that we'd seen when we were out there in the past that we'd never rode on. So we cut through Dacus here during our warm-up. We took 1486. Bypassing Richards, we went to an area called Apollonia. Right there we got on 2562, but the part of 2562 after 149 that takes us here to Rome's Prairie, that was all new to us. In Shiro, we're gonna take a road, but it turned out to be a gravel road. So we backtracked 1486 through Richards there, and we cut through the National Forest. Then we found a road called Hidden Forest Road. You will see us coming right here on the map here. It will dip right there. That's Hidden Forest Road. Coming back this way, lots of climbing. We had done it the opposite direction, but this way turned out to be more challenging. So I hope you all enjoy the clips to follow.
Let's do it.
All right.
Look at that sun. It's beautiful this morning.
So I loaded the maps last night.
And
While
for me,
I was
every day
loading
is
the map,
beautiful.
I had a bit of a technical issue with the head unit. Yeah, it just would not connect to the computer for some reason. But then once I held the power button down, I went online. Somebody had a similar problem.
Oh, yeah.
By holding the power button down for a little while, it almost like it reset the software. So everything's working great. The route is on there. Let me tell it to load the course.
Yeah, the Garmin headset, when I was trying to upload the map, had a problem, and the software
Shiro
froze.
Northwest. Yeah, the reason I call it Shiro Northwest is because this direction we're going west, and then we're going north. It says go to the beginning. No, I don't care.
We're changing the way we ride out of here. Every time we come, we're doing
going
something
west,
different.
And we're going north because we have another way to go to Shiro. We can always go east and then go north. Remember from the last time? So as I do these, I don't want us to do the same thing all the time.
We have so much variety out
So
here.
by calling it northwest, that lets me know I'll keep this route because this is the westerly start. Because if we go the other way, that would be completely different. I want us to do these courses in different directions because the difficulty changes. Because if we had gone the other way today, we wouldn't enjoy that 2562 you saw. So I wanted you to experience that. I figure you deserve that after that gravel excursion. Yeah.
Yeah, Paul saw a new road when we're out there. We're gonna go try it today.
Man, we crazy.
Yeah, we really are. Yeah, I'm not doing that anymore because it wasn't too bad, but it chipped the clear coat on the bottom of the shoe. I don't like that.
Yeah, the gravel tears up your shoes.
3 miles.
If I would have done that to you, I would be upset.
Well,
I don't know how much weight I'm having.
yeah, we had to do it, man. We had to go through. But look at what we ran into. Look at what we ran into that we would never have seen that trail ride.
Yeah, man.
We've never seen that trail ride. So
You guys are just crazy.
You can hear the wind. I've dubbed it down to where you're experiencing what we experienced, because the camera always makes it sound louder. It's out there.
all right. That's why MJ said, let's do this.
That's my 6-year-old daughter.
Remember that, man?
That's what she says all the time. She does her arm like this. Let's do this.
I remember, man. I was dying. Profondo. When you told me the story.
Come over, man. That's glass. Let me film it for these guys. Look at all this glass.
Man.
Look like there was an accident because it's the kind of glass from like windshield or the car window.
Yeah.
They're like chunky glass.
Yeah. I wonder how far they go.
All the way down here. Man. Was that a multi-car accident? That's wild. Well, I tell you what, I don't know what the temperature is, but it feels nice. It's like 67 or something. Probably in centigrade will be like 18°C. Something like that. Careful going down here, it's wet.
Yeah, I'm getting pretty comfortable with the metric system. Just getting very familiar with the numbers and the conversions. Getting more comfortable doing them on the fly. I keep my temperature in Fahrenheit on my head unit, but I can calculate it on the fly pretty easily now. I've been doing it for a while. So on this ride, I'm wearing my new, I got a Rafa featherweight, protein featherweight jersey. That's what I'm wearing in pink. With the temperature going up, I'm wearing all the lightweight stuff I can get. I had a voucher, so I went ahead and took advantage of
We're
it.
gonna run in the spots like that, man.
Yeah, there was a wet spot. That's what Paul was talking about. We're going to run the spot. We took out the mud guards, and it ended up being a good call because the roads are dry. Look at this road, beautiful. So once it gets above 20°C for me, I like to go to lightweight stuff, and I don't do base layers because today I actually got about 24, 25°C on a ride, so that's one. Because I run hot. I'm telling Paul to check to see if my socks are lined up. I hate for those to be crooked. But by going with the same colorways on the socks, you can see the shoes that I have. The bottom are pink. I got them years ago, and they work pretty well.
Yeah.
But I was very impressed with this jersey. We talk about it during the ride. The pockets, even though it's really lightweight material, the pockets are very supportive. So I got a lot of stuff in the pocket, and they held. So I like the way they...
Yeah, I worked on my yard yesterday. When I came in, I saw you comment you were working with you were at the girls' school.
Yeah, I was with my daughters.
He's busy too.
I was with my daughters on Friday for field day. Spent the whole day at the school. I was harassing all the first graders because they had races, track races, and the boys were getting smoked by the girls.
Okay.
The first grade boys, they're like a bunch of airheads. The third grade boys, they're real boys. So the boys are always a little behind anyway. They'll catch up. So this time of year I start doing the team kit and all the lightweight stuff because this is May and we're gonna be in the 90s, like 28°C. That'll be every day. So to make sure I don't overheat, I wear lightweight stuff until late September. And I don't do any base layers. That's for me because I run hot. There's a car coming and we're turning left here. So I asked Paul to check. And so when that guy passed, we turn. And at this point here, we go ahead and just switch. So after 90 minutes, we're north of Apollonia. And we're on the undiscovered territory.
A new stretch of highway that we're going to check out today.
2562. Yeah.
Beautiful. I walked off the bike because it is so bumpy.
The pavement out here on this particular stretch of road, you can see it looks a little gravelly.
That wind is picking up. There's the road.
So the camera bounces around quite a
The camera
bit.
does it justice. Let this guy go.
The road is ahead. This is the road we're on, but the part we haven't been on is across this intersection.
This is the road. This is 149 and 2562.
So this is 2562 north of 149. And look how it curves up there to the tree line. So from a distance, it looks very impressive. But once you get there, you feel the grade, but you really can't see it, which makes sense. We had seen it during the Grand Fondo, but it was not on our route. And so this is the first time. So we're going to take it all the way up to Highway 30. Highway 30 is one of the old highways. It's very busy. The speeds are faster. It goes to the state prison in Huntsville. So it's an old road. So is Shiro, the old town. So I think one of the earliest prisons in Texas in this area was Huntsville.
The roads almost look impressive until you get to them. Then you're on the grade already. It doesn't seem as steep, but it is.
But the cool thing about this road is the grade continues. I mean, after this stretch, we found out that it's just a nice road, and it's a false flat and up to like 3 to 4% for miles. And once I realized that, I think you will even hear me shift later on. I think I froze the picture down the road further on to where you can see I just dropped it on a small chain ring, because once I realized we're going to be climbing for a while. There's a car back there. Paul mentioned a car back. And, you know, we got like a car every 5-7 minutes. So we moved over, but then he honked. But it turns out he was honking like acknowledging us or greeting us. But it just, I hate when they do that, because
Nah, that was his way of saying hi. It wasn't being a jerk. I looked at you, I saw you.
so
Nice enough to move over for you to get by. Just go.
yeah, you know, the horn is kind of like, you can't use that for greeting. You can startle people. It's really best to use as a warning. You should have just gone by. You can hear the camera bouncing around. I dubbed it down quite a bit. That's because of the surface of the road. These roads out here get really hot in the summer, so they don't lay down a lot of tar. They put down pebbles and tar. So that keeps the road from literally melting away. You can hear the wind. So we're riding uphill into the wind, and this road curves. So it's just it turned out to be a beautiful road. So needless to say, we will be using this road. Very quiet. And the cars that did pass were not going very fast. I don't remember what the posted speed is. Probably it might be 45. They just didn't seem to be going very fast. So you guys can see how I dress. I take a color from the jersey.
Socks looks the business, my brother.
That's what Paul's talking about. He said the socks look the business. So I told him, I said, I'm glad I listened to my wife and didn't paint the bottom of the shoe. I had wanted to make the bottom of the shoe black.
The bottom of the shoe too, man. Just the business.
This is where I told him, I said, I'm glad I didn't paint it.
Yeah, she wasn't right about that. Good thing you listened.
So shortly over here, I realized around this curve that this road is just going up right here. So I spot the long grade and I went ahead and dropped, listen, right there. I dropped my chain. Small chain ring.
That's why we come here.
And Paul said, that's why we come here. I mean, we're climbing. And they said 1%. It's a little more than that. Now I jumped to 2. But for the foreseeable future here, I'm looking at it and it's going up and it curves to the left. So that's what they mean when they say shift early. You got to get in the gear that you need to handle the climb you're on, so you don't get bogged down. And all I'm doing is keeping our effort in zone 2. That's our plan right here anyway. So even though it's zone 2, by climbing, as long as we do, you build strength, you build power. You don't have to kill yourself to get stronger. So by doing it long enough, you get strong from riding these climbs. I'm riding the shoulder here. Paul's on the road. And the reason is we're climbing, we're going slower. There's nothing coming, but it just makes sense since there's two of us. I'm just riding over there, but he's on the road.
Yeah. Yeah. Sucker will tell you better eat your
I neglected to mention that early in the ride when we saw the glass outside the park. The reason why I called Paul over is you don't want to roll through glass anytime anyway, but especially on a morning like this where the road was a little damp. It had rained a little bit overnight because glass will stick. That's what Paul's talking about. Is where you make a move. Right here, the grade kicked in. You can see it's jumping. It says 2. I think it went to like 4%. But what I was saying is, if it's wet, don't roll through glass because glass will stick to your tire and work its way in. So right here, every time the road curved, we found out the grade was there. And all we're trying to do, if you notice, I'm trying to keep the effort about the same. That's the key. Yeah, we can go harder, but the plan is to do it longer. So we're getting to the bottom of zone 4 here because of the climb. That's the nice thing about riding climbs. They make you work. You don't have to think about it.
It was worse. I had to agree with her. That's why he hit me up on the...
What Paul's laughing about is that I had visitors at the house and they found out we had trained before we did that ride. And they're not athletes, and they're like, it's crazy to go do that much riding when you got to go ride. I said, well, you have to do that to prepare. So the average people don't understand why we do what we do. So that's what Paul was laughing about. So we're on this road probably 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. We might have been passed by 2 or 3 cars. So it's a keeper. I'm messing with the cows over here.
They're running away.
They're running. Because that's what happens when they're being herded. And the cowboys on their horses, they yell at them, yeah, yeah. And they just start moving. I guess they thought that's what I was doing. We're on our horse. A 2-wheel horse. I like to mess with the animals. This is farm country out here. You can hear the wind. So after the road flattened out here, so it's just flat. If you look at that jersey, what I like about it is there's like a band on the bottom that supports the pocket and it keeps the jersey in place. It almost looks like the pocket sits into something and is suspended. I don't really know how they do that. And I've looked at the jersey when it's not on me, and I just can't really see how they get that. They get the pocket to suspend, and then when you take things out, the pockets lay down flat. You can see how the middle pocket is empty and it's flat, and that's where we keep the camera when we're not filming. So they're doing good designs, you know. Santini is doing the same thing too.
Man, I'm glad we came out, man. This is epic. Oh.
Paul says he's glad we came out because it was raining.
Since when does the rain stop us?
Ah.
It's been rain and cold.
Look at this thing. Look at this thing.
This is a day of days.
Love it.
Yeah, too bad if you were staying in a couch. With the remote control, this is the day to ride. Yeah.
So by riding on the shoulder like I'm doing, we can ride side by side, we can talk. We're not taking up the entire lane.
I had an orange jersey like this, which I wanted. Some orangey, like a red orange. I didn't have a side. I read the reviews. Everybody was, man, it's comfortable.
Yeah.
Fits well. lightweight.
I think I
Hate
saw
being
it.
hot on the bike.
Yeah.
It helps pass the time. You can ride two abreast and just use half of the lane pretty much. There's a horse over there. He's all black. That's his head. Got a white spot on there.
Did you working on that? Look at that bird.
Man,
There's
this
a
guy
bird
has
flying in
all
front of
colors.
us.
Look
We
at
didn't get
that
him
white
on
one over
camera. I think Paul's trying to get him. Yeah, he was flying real low, just over the height. Look behind, no cars. You know, so this road's a keeper. The whole way we're climbing pretty much it's soft, like a false flat, and then into the wind. So in the middle of summer, we'll have the wind behind us if we come this direction, because the wind will be blowing from the south. Today the wind was blowing from the northwest. That's why it had rained overnight. There's a front that came by. You can hear the wind. That's what we heard. I tried to get it as close as I could to what it sounded like. So this is going to take us to Highway 30, which is a high-speed road. We've never been on 30 before. To the west, to our left, is a town about maybe 2 kilometers away from this intersection coming up, called Roan's Prairie. We didn't go there today, but we went east. We went right to Shiro, Texas. Small town, not much going on there. You can hear the wind picking up.
Oakland Cemetery.
There's a cemetery sign up here. That's what Paul's reading out. Yeah, old Oakland Cemetery there. And Roan's Prairie is to the left. And Shiro's to the right. Highway 30 is up there. And I think right around here, the third car on this entire journey on this road passes us right before the intersection. Right there.
Yeah.
So we're going right. And it turns out that this highway, they put those little ridges on the side where the shoulder is. So you really can't use the shoulder. You will hear the camera bounce as Paul goes over it right there. Those ridges, they put them on there so when cars are running off the road, it'll alert the driver that he's out of the lane. They do that on some highways. And right here, the sun is behind the clouds, so you can see it's very dark. The camera's having challenges. But look at how the pink stands out. That's why I use those contrasting colors. I'm pointing that out to Paul. Those ridges stay there. So as a result, we use the main lane. The speed limit here is like posted 65. It's a state highway 30. It's not very busy, but the cars are moving faster. So it doesn't matter. We're using the road. The road's a little rough, You can hear the camera bumping around. I dubbed it down. Very windy. You can hear the wind whistling. That's the wind whistling by the microphone on the camera. This is prairie country. I'm surprised we didn't see tumbleweeds going across the highway. So I decided to get in the drop to try and cheat the wind. And since it's a busy road, we pick up the pace here. We're still doing the same effort. This is like zone 2, which, you know, for me anyway. I mean, listen to that wind. So you can see how visible the socks are. Of course, the jersey, that's the way you want to dress. You want to pick a color out of your kit, pick a bright color, and use that on your legs. That's what's moving. That's what gets the attention of the other road users. Of course, we got a red light on there as well. So, you know, you cut out the excuse they use, but it didn't see you. A lot of them like to claim that. I didn't see you. So this just enhances your visibility, especially on these quiet roads in the middle of nowhere. They'll see you from a long ways off. The same logic hunters do when they wear orange when they go hunting. So right here, this road is slightly going up. It's not at 1%, but it's a grade. And then we've got the wind there, and now it says 1%. So you feel it. So all I try to do is keep the effort the same. Somebody had posted on the channel in a comment, how do I go faster on the hill? And from reading between the lines, it seemed like the person was trying to match the uphill speed with the flat road speed. And so I didn't know much about the person, so my reply was, keep the effort the same, find a gear when you come to a hill, and don't try to match the speed you do on a flat road, and just get over the hill comfortably. That's the key. So yeah, you can see my effort is going up, even though I'm trying to keep things the same because the conditions are tougher. The road surface is not smooth. You can see the camera bouncing around. The gimbal's doing its best to keep the picture steady. But the surface of the road, the wind, the grade, all of that affects your speed. That's why you can't train to speed. You know, because you get the wind behind you, you can be flying along and doing nothing. So right here, we're approaching zone 4. Look at the road. Look up there. That road goes up. That's the grade we're dealing with, in addition to the wind. And you can see right here just how the camera is seeing somebody coming from behind us. That's what they see, because the sun is going behind these clouds you see from time to time. And that's how it changes the visibility when you're on the highway. That's the reason, even on a sunny day, this is a partly sunny day, you definitely want to make sure you're visible. We only have the rear light on our bikes for that very reason. So I'm right by the white line. Paul is a little to the left of me, and we're just using a quarter of the lane pretty much. And so that forces them to move over. You know, the speeds are higher, they move over. The road's not that busy, but you have the right to use the road. If the shoulder was usable, we would, but it's not. And I don't mind these kind of roads because they're so sparsely used that, you know, every now and then you get a car or 2 or 3 cars passing you. It's still better than where I live, where every second a car is coming around. I think around here we get a dog that's trying to chase us. I don't know if it's here, but we had a lot of little dogs that thought they were tough. And I told one of them, not today. I think it's somewhere here. Listen to that wind. The thing about the wind that you have to prepare yourself for it, the wind's gonna be out there. You just find a tempo, stay with it. What I usually do as the wind picks up on a road like this, I get in the drops, or if I'm on the hoods, I lower my body a little bit. It's a beautiful day for a bike ride. Look at that. Look at this day. There's the cows. I think I talked to them. This is the Shiro cemetery. Listen to the wind. And it's so windy that we can't really talk unless we're side by side because you can't really hear it very well. I'm talking to the cows. What's up, boys? They're looking at us. I think those guys ran. I don't know. I think the two over there ran. That was closer to the fence. So it's just really nice to get out here on roads that we've never been on before. All of this is new to us. Going to a historic little town. So you see the speeds drop to 55. We're close to the outskirts of Shiro. They usually drop the speeds as people go through town. One thing about these kind of roads, when you're in your car, you have to be careful you watch the speed limit. Some of them will go from 55 to 30 when you get into town. There's a little dog, that's what Paul's talking about. A little dog by the size of a chihuahua. He thinks he's tough. We're into Shiro, Texas, city limits. It's one of these towns, if you blink, you miss it.
Shiro, here we go.
I think Paul ends up filming the little post office. So this is Main Street. Back in the day, people would ride into town on their horses like this.
Yeah.
And you see it just like you see in the westerns.
Yeah.
I'm telling Paul that we have a backup plan. We'll take 1486 if that road, the road that those wagon trail guys were on, comes out here. And it ended up being gravel on this side. So I had already looked at the map and I had a secondary plan just in case. A lot of the county roads here are not paved. And we'll show you all later when we get into Richards. Even in the middle of the city, they didn't have their roads paved. That's, you know, when you don't have that much revenue, you don't have people living there, there's no money to pave the roads. So we're on the outskirts of downtown. This is downtown. You can see all the buildings are going to line up on the street. So back in the day, people rode horses down the middle of the street. There's the post office across the street on the left. Right there. I mean, that building is like a shed.
Shiro Baptist Church. Yeah.
Do you see the sign that says Richards? I'm telling Paul that if the county road is gravel, we'll come back and use this highway, 1486. That's our backup plan. You see the buildings all facing the street. Back in the day, the horses you just ride down the middle of the street. This is Main Street. So Highway 30 went in through town. The tracks are not smooth, not too bad, but they're a little bumpy. I slowed down here because I saw a car coming and this guy was sitting on that side of the road. for a while going around us. So we're going to take a county road 233, which is Red Top Road. That's the same road those guys that turned the wagon train on coming this way north. We're going to take it south. And then right here, we see that it's gravel. I'm like, I'm not dealing with that today.
Yeah.
So the other side of it was paved, and this side is gravel. That means in the middle, you probably got gravel, you know.
233 is Red Top.
Okay.
We're going to take 1486 and go into Richards.
Huntsville, 23 miles.
So, yeah, Huntsville, what Paul's talking about, that's where the state prison is. We'll visit that in the future.
Yeah, I know.
So 35 kilometers east of here is the state prison
Okay. Good plan.
in Huntsville, Texas.
Yeah.
So we're finding that a lot of these county roads are not paved. It would be nice if they were, because they all connect and they're more scenic than sitting on a highway. But we turn left here shortly after going back into town. This is Shiro. That's it. See where the sign says Richards? We're going to go left on 1486. That sign that said uneven tracks, it wasn't playing. They are uneven. They did their best, but it's still bumpy. This is 1486 right here. That was the backup plan. So we turn here. It ends up being, even though it's a major road, it ended up being very quiet, very nice, and it was a quick road. I think in a short while I took the camera from Paul so I can get him on camera. Yeah, I think right here.
So this will take us straight into Richards to 149.
So Paul takes the lead, and I had told him that we'll rotate and sit up there for a while. You can hear the camera rattling because of the surface of the road, and I have dubbed it down. It was a lot louder because the camera has 3 microphones, I believe, and the gimbal that is attached to the body is kind of solid, so it bounces on the brake hood sometimes, depending on how smooth the road is.
Look at that bad boy.
Look at that road. It's hard to tell. You can't really appreciate it on the camera here from this distance. But we found different ways to hold the camera to where on these rough roads, I was showing Paul some different things I was doing that should minimize the rattling. But this road ended up being nice. We'll pass by a few cars. I mean, you can count them on one hand, and it's another keeper. There's really nothing out here. The bunch of just pastures. That's why a lot of the county roads are not paved. That's another one, an unpaved county road. A lot of them are not paved because there's no revenue out here. They get their money from people. And there's no people, there's no money to pave these other roads. So just the major highways are paved, and it's probably paved by the state. So Paul had pulled for a while. I edited it for time, and then I went ahead and gave him the camera. Paul prefers to film. A lot of times I just like to get him on camera too, you know, because it's good for people to see how Paul rides, because he's come a long way than when I first met Paul. His position is nice and comfortable. He's steady on his bike, and so it's just really nice. I like for him to see himself riding. can see the road up there going up. It's basically flat right here. What I'm trying to do is get us back because we've got, and Paul's not aware of it. On the return, we're not using major highways. I'm taking him through a back road on the way back. He ended up really liking it to where at the end of the ride, we hit a bunch of climbs, just repeated on a quiet, small road. So he was like, wow, this is great. We need to do it more often. I like to put the hardest stuff at the end of the ride. So I told him on this road, I said, let's make up some time here. We're talking about the road, you know, how nice and quiet it is, and the changing terrain, and then listen to that wind. So when you ride like this, whether you ride with one or two people or by yourself, and you're battling the elements, when you get with a group, it's a lot easier because then you have a place to rest. When you're riding alone, there's nowhere to rest. I did a video on how to take care of your kid, and I'm going to mention it here. Wash just like you do normal laundry. All your light colors, similar colors together. Don't wash your light colored jerseys with dark colored jerseys. Separate them. A lot of the washers have small load capability. That's what I do. And that keeps your jerseys brighter longer. I did a video on how you care for your kid. So you can search the archives on, you know, your washing your cycling kit. It's in there. But it's important is those little details because these things are not inexpensive. You can't be messing them up and having to get new ones. It adds up. Those socks look new. They are at least a year old. So even the socks, when I wash them, light colors. I don't wash bright colors with dark colors. Because then the bright colors get dull over time. And always cold water for the kind of material our stuff's made of. So you can see the speed pick up because we've got, I guess, well, it's not really a tailwind. We got the trees on the side that's blocking that wind from the west because we're headed kind of a south. It says southeast up there. It's a southeasterly direction, but mostly south. I think it's just the road. You see how smooth this road is right now? You hear the camera is not rattling. The surface has changed. This is smoother. We joked about it because it went from black asphalt to gray that we're on here. And I told Paul, I said, it must have been hiring different contractors to work on the road. And we laughed about it. But we're still in zone 2. I'm actually in the bottom of zone 2 and we're carrying more speed. This is another reason why you can't train to speed. You got to focus on effort. Out of your heart rate, your power range, or RPE. The rate of perceived exertion. On a scale of 1 to 5, some people use 1 to 10. I like to use 1 to 5. 1 to 5, I'm doing about halfway or more than half. It's easier to keep up with for me anyway. That's how you want to gauge it. And even with heart rate, I don't look at my heart rate meter when I'm riding. It's just for reference. Like if I'm riding, all of a sudden my breathing changes. I always glance to see, okay, what zone am I in? Why is my breathing changing? Did my cadence change? Those are the kind of things you use for reference. You can see my cadence is up. We're heading towards Richards at this point in the ride. So if you're finding that on a ride, you can't pedal very long, like you see us doing here, that says something's wrong with your fit. You should be able to ride without having to be moving around. So that's why everybody I come in contact with, the first thing I try to find out, are you fitted to your bike? Because if you're not going to enjoy the whole experience. You're cheating yourself. If you look at my pockets as I ride, they don't move because my saddle is set correctly. So my hips are not rolling. They're not rocking. That's a good sign. That's the first thing to look for those of you who want to DIY. And if you're finding you can't get the thing nailed down, then it's time to solicit some help. There's no point going for years riding uncomfortably when you can just invest in your fit and get that dialed in. You will enjoy everything. You will ride longer, faster, better. Everything will go up a notch. You'll be able to ride at varying cadences comfortably. You won't have your foot going to sleep and all that kind of stuff. It takes time, even with help. You have to be willing to invest the time. So at this point, the wind's picking up, so I get in the drops. Now, I can go lower than that. I just rest my arms in the drops and let my body stay there because I want to give Paul a good draft. But if I were riding solo or not with Paul or whatever and we're going really fast, I can lower my torso. I would just bend my elbow more. But even in that position is more aero than sitting upright on the tops. And if you're finding you can't use all the positions on your bars, that means your setup is wrong. The height of your stem or the length of your stem, all of that plays a factor. But you've got to start with your saddle first. When that's set, everything else is easy. You can hear the wind. The wind's always going to be out there. In fact, I welcome the wind. In the summer, I plan my routes to where I come back into the wind because the wind's always blowing from the south. Because it's so hot, I want the wind to blow on me. From September to May is my favorite time of the year in Texas, in South Texas. June, July, and August, they can keep. I'm not saying I don't ride. I just go out very early, and by 9:30, 10, I want to be done, especially when I'm riding solo. I'll leave at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm back by 9:30, 10. No point being out there in the heat. You just got to drink more to keep your temperature regulated. If you go out there and you don't drink enough in the heat, you can't perform as well. And you can risk heat stroke and other issues. So don't take a chance riding in the heat. You see my bottles, they're insulated. We did not stop on this ride. The only stop you will see on film, we stopped because the battery died, and we just stopped on the side of the highway, swapped the battery, and continued riding. We didn't need to stop because we had everything we needed. And when I do the route, we know where the stores are. Like if we had needed to stop, we would stop in Richards. There's a store there. You'll see on film as we go by. So when you plan your routes, you have to plan accordingly. and make sure you have enough stuff with you just in case, because one thing about on these rural roads, you're not going to find major big gas stations everywhere. So you come across a place where you can stock up, reload. When there's a doubt, reload. That way you're not running out. I'd much rather get back with stuff in my bottles than to be without. You see the road's going up. I don't know if it'll register. You can see it's going up. That's why the speed's down. I think I don't know. I just put on the hoods. I thought I downshifted there. I don't hesitate to shift. As soon as I feel it dragging, unless I really want to push in that gear. And you will see later I start to push up a climb in low cadence, but I'm still smooth. Hey, look at this road. It's beautiful. Get a car now and then, that's it. So we rode for 3 hours and almost 40 minutes without stopping before we needed to change the battery. If you're gonna do that, you build up to it, but you should be able to do that. And when I stand, all I focus on is pulling up. Gravity brings your legs down. You don't need to think about that. Just pull up. The bike will move. On each time you pull up, that bike moves. That's when it moves, when you pull up. You're taking the bike for a walk. And then you sit. I made a video about how to stand without stopping your pedaling. So those of you who are new to the channel, you can check the archives. I think it's in the tips section, but you can just search for it, standing while cycling. It's very demonstrative. It breaks down how to do that, what you just saw. You should be able to do that without stopping your pedaling so that people who are behind you don't come up on your rear wheel. And when you got your fit dialed in, as soon as you stand and when you sit, your saddle's right where it needs to be. I think, yeah, we're coming into town. That's why you see those things in the road that I pointed at. They have these little, they're almost like little strips that they put down. There's another set right here on both sides of the road. You kind of roll over them, they look like a little washboard to let you know to back off your speed when you're in a car because you're coming into town. We're gonna go left here. This is Highway 149 here from 1486. They have the same highways named and they break off and continue somewhere else. Like this one, 1486, we're coming on 149 here. After a few kilometers, like 2 kilometers or so, 1486 that we just left continues on the right, which is weird. There's a dog there, yeah. I was yelling at the dog, not so much about him not coming to me. I didn't want him coming on the road. There's a house on the other side, and you know, they can get hit. It's so low to the ground. I don't know why these people don't secure the dogs. Because those dogs can get injured, you know, and some of them, they're not killed and then they're maimed and so forth. And all you have to do is secure the dog. I was telling Paul that even here, the roads, that's gravel roads, this is Richards. And right here on the left, that's one of the city streets, is gravel. And we ended up filming the rest of the streets. All of the streets are gravel in town. Only the main highway is paved. Because this is a state highway, so probably the state paid for it. So we're in Richards. So not all these roads are going to be buttery smooth. You have to work hard to keep your speed going, but that's fine. You get a good workout out here.
Macho man for a second, you're going to be for a second. Yeah.
Look how quickly we got back here.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
I was telling Paul we got back quickly. So that's the sign that said 1486 to the right.
Richard.
Yeah. Yep. That's the spot.
And a local gas station there.
Yeah.
There's one grocery store here.
Turn.
This is 1486. That's the same highway we're on. You see with the sign there. So the highway ended back there, and now it continues.
Yeah.
Look at this road. That's a downtown road, gravel.
Man, you're not kidding. We got here quick.
So we're coming up to 1486 before the grocery store.
30.
That's the grocery store. That's Richard's Grocery. That's where all the cyclists that come through here stop to refill. We've stopped there before.
Yeah.
All the roads are gravel.
Yeah. All unpaved.
There's another unpaved road. All the roads are unpaved other than the main highway. We're on the way out of town here. Listen to that wind. Another unpaved road. So all the roads that's going in town, they're unpaved.
Yeah.
I mean, they named the streets. They've got the sign on the corner, and it's just not paved.
Yeah.
Their signs are blue and white, as opposed to green and white in the bigger counties.
Hey.
That's amazing. All the street. That's another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told Paul to film it so you guys can see. All those streets go in town. They connect to the other streets. They're all gravel.
That's our channel.
Yep. This one.
That one's not paved either. That's another one. The people that paved this highway just put a little bit of asphalt on the corner there. But right where that blue sign is, that's gravel.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, I see it.
So we're leaving town here.
Yeah.
That's a nice climb.
Yeah.
But I just wanted you to see that. That's what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
All of that shows up on the map. And the funny thing is, some of those streets connect to the county roads.
Yeah.
That's why I was trying to get us back to that red top road.
Yeah.
On that side where we were, it was paved, but once they got out there, they did not continue. So I'm like, these roads. But that's why it's quiet out here. If these roads were paved, every town in this area would be out here.
Yeah. We'll be out here riding. Wow.
30 is the main drag into Huntsville from the north side. It goes straight into Huntsville.
Mm-hmm.
The main highway there. There are other routes.
I'm riding on the shoulder here so we can chat.
On that section.
Yeah. That whole section, man, was quiet.
It's a little messy, so I stand up. It's a little bumpy.
It was nice and smooth.
Yeah.
There's a lot of debris there. That's why I'm standing.
It was very rewarding. Yeah. I remember that bad boy.
It's a bit narrow, so I get back on the road. And this thing starts to kick up as soon as we leave town. Get over the first bump, you can see the second one coming. It's right up there. So just repeat it. The grade starts, it just doesn't register because it's not 1% yet. The overlay shows integers. It might, yeah, now it shows 1. So from here all the way over where you see those trees are, we're climbing. Get to like 3% here. I think it's like 4 point something when we're done.
There it is.
Look at the road again.
Yeah.
Look at it.
The county line. You hit Montgomery County, look at the
There it
road. The
is.
surface is so much better. Because Montgomery County is a larger county and has a higher population. So they have the resources to build better roads. So this part of the road is up and down. Right now it's relatively flat. We'll go down and you can see in the distance it goes back up. Basically climbing here, it's less than 1%. That's probably, yeah, now it says 1%. Letting Paul know that had that road not been a gravel road, we would have come out on this road that we're intersecting with up ahead on the left.
Definitely have to put red shades on here. Didn't tell you how many little bugs.
Yeah.
It looked like a threat.
This is the road that we came out. Yeah.
That's Bays Chapel Road. Last week, that's the road we used when we're coming back after the trail ride that we just passed there.
This is where when we came out, those motorcycles came out.
As the day goes on, it's later in the morning, the wind's picking up.
Okay.
Hidden forest.
I was telling him about hidden forest road that we're going to come across down the highway. And the road goes up again. I decided to just keep it in the same gear. I'm probably in a 53-23 or something like that. And I decided I'm just gonna, it's later in the ride, I'll just make my legs hurt a little
Oh,
more.
yeah. Yeah. That's like something good on my.
Hey, donkey! No, donkey or horse?
That's a donkey, man. Yeah, you got it right.
You can see the road goes down here, and then they're gonna kick back up again where those cars are. On the climb again. The area is relentless. You're up or down. In a little while, we get close to the little back road I found. Called Hidden Forest Road. So Paul's leading here shortly before we get to Hidden Forest Road.
Right here. Car.
So there's a car behind us as we begin to make our left turn. He comes up. I have the camera. I motioned to him, and he was patient. So I went ahead and just got across the road, seeing that there was no car at this corner, and took the turn. And Paul's excited when we come on this road. So I start laughing. He's like, man, because these are one of the roads that if you're not looking for it, it's you can miss it.
Nice mixture. Some busy roads, some quiet roads. They give you a nice way to
We
go
had
to
been on this road during the Grand Fondo, but we came from the other direction, and
It's easy to miss these though. You saw how quickly it came up on that curve and downhill.
And so on this route, we're going south. We had come north on it. And the south direction is more challenging than the other way. So Paul really liked it.
I knew it was coming when I saw the yellow sign with the black and white cross. Before we got there, we says there's an intersection coming, and it had the road coming from one side. So I turned the camera on to get ready. Then this guy confirmed it beat. Yeah. Blink, you missed those roads, man. You gotta know they're there. That's why they're quiet. You don't know they're there, you pass them. You gotta have a reason for being on them. That's the thing, in the summer, these are the kind of roads. Trees are growing together over the road.
These are gonna be the roads we're gonna frequent during the summer when it's hot, because it's always cooler on these roads. I don't like to do too much stopping on
Yeah,
my
the
ride.
birds singing.
Yeah.
They're happy. They're happy.
So we carry enough water to where we don't have to stop.
Nothing out here.
Stop building here.
There's nothing out here. There's nobody moving out to Richards or. I mean, look at Richards. They got one little grocery store. They don't even have a bathroom. That's our turn there. That's where that lady was sitting ringing a bell.
Yeah, during the Grand Fondo,
Right
we
turn.
came the opposite way, and there was a lady on the corner ringing a bell here.
This is the one they call Hidden Forest Road. We're just leaving now. This one is called Mount Pleasant or something like that. Yeah.
This is Mount Pleasant Road. This takes us back to 1097, and this turned out to be the toughest direction to take this one in. The climbs were very deceiving
It's a little cooler out here.
and challenging.
And some truck came and tore up that road like that. Some heavy vehicle. Yeah, it's like a few degrees cooler than back on 149. So it's not a whole lot. So we've ridden it the other way. Now we'll see how it is this way. I didn't break a sweat, man. Those guys.
We're laughing about other rides that we had done years ago that were not as challenging, and how we've just kicked up the ante on these rides and the terrain.
Get some cool in your system.
Exactly. I just stopped to fill up my bottle. I'll drink on the bike.
So we're talking about, 3 hours plus. We've had no need to stop. I've got about probably a half bottle left.
Look at where I put them.
I've got the gimbal balanced on top of my brake hoods. That's what I was showing him.
Yeah.
Once it's touching the bike, it just bounces around too much. That's what I like. We carry it in our hand because it's convenient and it's more
just that
stable.
once it's attached to the bike in any way, it bounces more.
Yeah.
That's the thing. In your hand is better. Look at this bad boy. Look at this bad boy.
It's a nice climb and then it curves to the left.
So what I do is I'm using my finger on the hood and keeping it away from the hood. Not like I showed you before. I'm finding different ways to do it.
I'm trying to quiet the gimbal's body. That's what's rattling.
Just holding it out.
So I use my finger to push it away from
So
the
it's not touching. And stay.
hoods, the side of the brake hoods. Quiet it a little bit. So these kind of roads that have this kind of foliage here, doesn't matter how hot the day is, you get a reprieve when you come through here. So I give Paul the camera here, roll to the
Yeah.
front.
Yeah. What I noticed about the rifle, man, they
We're
reinforce
talking about the pockets on this featherweight jersey. The material is so thin, but I don't know how they got the pockets to be so solid and tight. Because I've got a big bag in there, my small pump, and it's still.
This is the thinnest. This is a flyweight. Protein flyweight. Because we have the classic flyweight.
Yeah.
This is a protein flyweight. And man, I expected the pocket to be moving. Whether you're wearing that, the pocket is solid.
Yeah, the flyweight jersey, I expected the pocket to be flimsy, but they're not. And Paul's jersey, he's wearing Santini. Pockets are tight as well. They hold stuff well. Because the flyweight material is supposed to be real lightweight, but they really reinforce the pockets.
How we ride almost 4 hours, we don't stop. 3 hours and 20 minutes.
Because we have the food, we have the drinks. Why should you stop?
I've been drinking today. Man, time I get that.
I was telling Paul we're really bad because we ride for 4 hours and we don't stop. Almost 4 hours. We're 3 hours and 22 minutes. We haven't even stopped.
Yeah.
And we have fallen in love with this route, this area anyway. No reason to stop, so you get a better workout all around.
Clear? All right.
You can hear the wind. And this is a sign for cyclists right here. It says caution cyclists. I was pointing out to Paul.
Yeah.
A letting the other road users know that we're out here. And we turn, the wind's blowing from we're headed south here, but it seems to be swirling around in between the trees. I think as we go around this curve, the road kicks up. Yep, it's at 1%. In one of these corners we come around, Paul is surprised. He said, man, this is 4%. I think this might be here. Because the road looks flat, but it doesn't feel flat. All I do is I ride it and not be too concerned about my gearing, except for the fact that I want to make sure I have the cadence reasonable. I think this is what Paul's talking about. The grade kick, now it got to like 4.4 or something. I don't know if it will register on the overlay. And it just didn't seem like it was a climb. That's what Paul's talking about. I got there quickly. Then it releases you here, but then it will resume. You can see the curve over there. Every time it curves, it's a grade. That's why he's laughing at.
I was riding and I heard my legs bite. I was like, what's going on? And I glanced, man, a 4 point. I was like, what?
So it was a 4% climb back there. That's what Paul's talking about. It seemed flat, but then he felt it. I kind of like it because it teaches you to use your gearing right and just to kind of pay attention to the sensations of your legs. Since it's surprising you, you got to know how to stay on top of whatever gear you're in or find another gear. So even though it says 0 here, we're still climbing. It just doesn't register when it's below 1%. Right here is a slight downhill, and the downhills were short. So we enjoy this downhill while it lasts. It didn't last too long, and as soon as it ends, we get into a climb, one of the steepest ones on here. And you can see I'm gonna jump one of the bumps because this road's a little treacherous, just playing around right here. And then we're onto the climb, and look at the grade, 3%, 4%, 5%, 6%. I think it gets up to like 7 point something. Yeah, it says 7 right there. And then Paul starts to express his concerns.
Yeah, man. Shoot. That sucker was stiff. Good grief. Felt it on my back.
Yeah, our lower back was aching right there where I'm pointing at. That's where you usually get it. The muscle group back there that you use. And look, it's going back up. Yet another climb. So we ended up just falling in love with this road. We're enjoying the descent. This one was not as steep as the one we just went over. It's between 3 and 5%, but it continued. If you look at it, it curves to the right up there. So it may say 0, but it's not flat. I'm just looking for the smoothest patch of pavement to use. And this is late in the ride, almost 3.5 hours. We haven't stopped yet. We end up stopping in a little while because the battery runs out. The battery lasts about 2 hours, usually. Hour 50, thereabouts. I'm riding the white line to keep myself providing some kind of shield for Paul because the wind's swirling around from that direction. So anywhere between 3 to 5%. This thing continued for a while. So we both agreed that this was the direction to ride this road, Mount Pleasant Road in. So we'll be out there next week. We're going to incorporate this road into another route.
It's about time. Shoot.
We both really enjoyed the route. This came late in the ride, so it was perfect. This is when you want to do your hardest work, when you're tired. I think we finally got a reprieve here from all the climbs. Oh, this is another one, but it's pretty mild. Once you've climbed a 7% or a 1%er is nothing.
Yeah.
This is a slight descent over here, but it's just such a beautiful road to ride. Even the downhills crept up on you. It looked flat, but you're moving downhill. Needless to say, Paul enjoyed this road. The faster we went, the more the wind seemed to pick up.
Yes, sir. Ah! You said, man, you wanna go where? That's not with you, man. Ah!
Yeah, we were doing a ride one day. At the end of a long ride, Paul wanted to go in the opposite direction. I told him, "You're on your own." That's what he's laughing about. I told him, I said, "Man, we've been out here long enough. Time to go in."
This is the ride, my brother. This is the ride.
This was one of our more efficient rides.
Yeah. What do you think, Shiro? That's nuts.
He told his wife about our excursion last week, and she told him we're both nuts. That's what he's talking about.
So you boys are nuts.
My wife tells me I'm crazy anyway, so.
A lot of things we do doesn't make any sense to common folk.
I do it too much, it gets fuzzy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I did it 25%, 50%, 75%, and at 200% it was perfect. I said, okay, I'm going to leave it here. They call it scaling the picture. I was like, man, they got some nice tools in there, like everything else, not user-friendly.
Yeah.
Go find it.
We're talking about
It's there, but they
the
don't tell you
software I
about it.
use for post-production.
Yeah, because you said it, man. They want you to call
I want you
them.
to call them. Don't charge you.
Yeah. They want you to call them.
What these guys don't understand. So I had to go do some searches on Google. How do you increase the size and Final Pro X? 10 wrong answers, then I found one that was close. Once I got in the area, I saw, oh, this is it. So I didn't find the answer, but I found something that got me in the neighborhood. That's the lake. This lake is cool.
Yeah, man.
This is the tail end of Lake Conroe. And somewhere around here, I think when we had the flooding, the water looked like it got near the line here, the electric. Those looks like telephone lines. See those things on there? Stuff hanging on the wire.
Yeah.
That looks like from the water level. Like when Harvey was around, probably. This is one of the main reservoir areas near Conroe, Texas. That's where they release stuff downstream. Somewhere around here, the camera runs out of power. Paul mentions it to me. And we go ahead and stop right here and we change the battery. I think this is where he tells me about it.
Oh, man.
Right here, so we changed it, and there was a bug trapped in my helmet.
It's warm like this, you trap those guys.
Yeah.
So I took them out. We changed the battery in the camera, and we're almost at the end of the ride. A few kilometers from the park. So it says Richards and Montgomery. We're not going into Montgomery. We're going to turn right towards Richards, but the park is about probably 3 kilometers north of this intersection on the right. We start outside of downtown Montgomery so we can avoid the congestion.
We're wrapping up another epic ride. So if you didn't get out, you better head out now or get on the trainer. Get those K's in. That's the guy we passed earlier up there. He did a short loop. Yeah, he was on Hidden Forest Road.
That's the same guy we passed when we entered Hidden Forest Road on the left.
He took Hidden Forest Road on 149 and came south. Remember when we had to do the detour the first day?
Yeah.
Yeah, he came south. That's a short loop. That's why you can't chase people out here, man. Not everybody doing the same thing. Up and down, man. Up and down. Woo.
So we headed north and we discovered the wind is blowing northwest. It just seemed to be everywhere today anyway. Right about here we hit a grade. I grit my teeth and decide to get over it. The lanes are narrow, but we have to use them because they've got those little ridges. You can see to the left of my elbow there. Those ridges on the shoulder. So we're using the lane. It's not that busy out here.
I got a flat tire over there.
Yeah, we spot one of our fellow cyclists repairing a flat in a not too convenient location.
You got everything you need?
There he is.
All right.
And he acknowledges that he has what he needs.
Whoa! Yeah, there was just 3 of them. Like, come on, man, really? Watch this one. There were just 3 of them. 3 of those bumps surprised me. We're good. They're not that bad, really. Especially with that 28 on the back.
The little ripples that you see on the left there, somehow there were just 3 kind of out of
This is
place.
a day of days, my brother.
Yep.
That's what I bumped over. I
Give the
didn't see
camera to
him.
Paul here.
There we go. This is it.
So we're about maybe 2 kilometers from the park where we started the ride. You can hear the wind. It is just swirling around. It's later in the morning, wind's picking up. So the ride was almost 4 hours, and with the terrain that we rode in, we stayed in mostly zone 2 to zone 4. Zone 4 for just short periods, but mostly zone 2. But because of the terrain and the distance, that's what makes you fit. We didn't stop. You saw on the side of the road, we stopped to put the battery in the camera and resumed. We didn't need to stop. Now, when the weather gets hotter, we'll do a stop at the 2-hour mark so we can refill our bottles. But they're just refill, stop, go. We don't sit around to let our bodies get cooled off and so forth. We just stop for necessity, fill up and resume. I don't like to stop too long and then get cold and then you gotta warm back up again. So there's at West Montgomery Park.
Yeah, man.
So this is what we did on
Yeah.
Saturday.
Uh-huh.
They start our park at 26. Well, we don't ride at 26 out the gate. Not a group ride on our back. Hope you
Yeah.
guys get out there. Get your case in.
That's it.
Yeah, so they start him at 26. That's how we catch up. He's just finished. They'll let you know, like I did when we had detour.
Yeah.
That he finished long before we did. Yeah, hope you guys get a chance, guys and girls. Get your cases. It's a beautiful day.
Yep. was a nice course.
Oh, the park is popular today.
Yeah. Look at that.
Only baseball though. There's basketball out here. This is a boring game, man. I went to a baseball game almost telling
Yeah. There's nothing to it.
boring. Not my cup of tea. Too slow.
Yep. Not for me either.
Too slow. I like to sweat, huff and puff.
Need a good sleep. That's the game to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are telling me, what about those Astros? I said, what about him? What about them?
This is the damn thing.
Yeah. This is what we came out here to do.
Yeah. 352. It feels like we're over 2 hours.
Yeah.
This show 4 hours. 96 kilometers, my brother.
Yeah.
Even though we did the detour, I thought we were gonna do less. We were supposed to do 99. We did 96. Wow, that's good. That is good. Yeah. Turn that on. Keep it running. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Let's get this guy. Yeah.
Okay.